How y'all doing? Welcome you guys to Revolutionary Ministries. And as always, we are a movement of God, birthed out of a necessity to please the Father. We are that experience and an encounter outside your tradition, outside your religion, outside your denominational views, outside your feelings, outside your emotions. Here, we hear what it is that the Most High is saying to us, through us, as us, right? So come on in, tag, share, invite, bring somebody in, somebody somewhere. They need to hear. As you can see, I'm outside, gonna hit these weights, probably walk in some grass. Been trying to absorb some sunlight today. Blessings to your family, because it's very important. Sunlight, let's just say the sunlight to those with neuromelanin, it's just very important. I'm gonna leave it at that. You can do some research, you know what I'm saying, on your own time when you get a chance. Got ants biting me already. Probably gonna have to get used to bug bites, huh? But come on in. I gotta do a set. We're just gonna flow and fellowship in the Holy Ghost. That's what we gonna do and talk, right? Because faith cometh by hearing, and hearing comes by God's word, right? Yes, it does. Yes, it does come by his word, right? And you gotta position yourself to be able to hear his word, right? Come on in, blessings to your family. I'm gonna get this set in. Come on in, blessings to your family. Blessings to your family. Come on in. We're going to talk fellowship. I'm going to lift a few weights out here, absorbing some of the sunlight. It's very important, very vital. When you see the sun, go out there. If you live out here like I live out here, then, you can get out there, no shirt, as little clothes as possible. So all your, what I'm saying, so your full body can absorb the sun. But you got to make sure when you do that, ain't no people around, right? Blessings to your family. Come on in. Especially if you got neuro. Oh yeah, Josie. Yeah, you got to make sure nobody's around. But it's important that, what I'm saying, it's really important that, especially if you got neuromelanin, not all carbon beings have neuromelanin. But if you have neuromelanin, it's very important that you get as much sunlight as possible, right? And those of us with neuromelanin, we're supposed to be closest to the equator as possible, right? But unfortunately, we don't really know what's going on up there. We don't really truly know what's going on out there, up there, because we've been lied to so much, right? We've been lied to so much that it's almost impossible. Even our smartest people, right, who are able to obtain, go look up the melanins, Josie, when you get a chance. I think there's uromelanin, phenomelanin, pyomelanin, neuromelanin, and 5 melanins. It's 5 different kind of melanins, I believe. Let me get this set in, though. Y'all tag share. Bring somebody in, right? But you can chime in on this conversation, right? Because the conversation is everything we know, and unfortunately, the Bible itself. Hey, Jacob. Jacob say, all I know is watermelon. Yeah. Yep. Watermelon's good too. It's a good source of H3O. Thank God I stepped in the ant pile, so they bite my little legs up. But once again, when we were fellowshipping in our last video, right? We were just, talking about a few things that are important to our development, or things that are important to our growth, right? And when we don't have those proper foundations, oh yeah, that's okay, Josie. Send me some through email, huh? But when we don't have those proper foundations, we'll get, like the Bible, like the scriptures declare, that you'll get tossed and driven by every wind of doctrine that comes your way. Let me tell you something. If your foundations are not strong, right? And when I say foundations, that which supports your life, that which supports what you believe. If those foundations are not strong, you know, then anything can blow you away, you know. And so that's why it's so important that your foundations are strong, right? They got to be strong. And so remember the last time we were talking, we were dealing with that that solar eclipse, right? We were dealing with that. We were talking about its pathway that is supposedly be taken, and you know, we don't know if it may be the byproduct of the, you know, the moon blocking the sun, or it may not be the byproduct of the moon blocking the sun, right? Because there's been cases and instances where during a solar eclipse, somebody saw the moon over there. I want you to think about that, you guys. I want you to really, really, really think about that. And I know this is not a traditional, you know, setting, traditional message. I want you to think about that for a moment. There have been two cases, two instances. And one of the instances, these people chartered a plane, right? And they say, hey, and chartered a plane, right? And they said, well, you're gonna get close to the eclipse as possible, right? Right? And so they chartered a plane, and all these people had, you know, was up there in the plane during an eclipse, taking videos and pictures, right? And so people had noticed that, wait a minute, you say the moon is supposed to be covering the sun, right? But as these people were up here taking these pictures and videos, they noticed that the moon was over there. And they noticed that, nah, this ain't the moon. But if you weren't, let me say this. If you weren't awakened enough, your mind would have automatically told you that's the moon, and then whatever over there, that's something else. But they have actual accounts during an eclipse, you guys, where it wasn't as they taught us in school. Now, in some cases, in some instances, it very well may be what they say it is based on their observation of past eclipses, right? But here's what we were diving into as it relates to us as believers, because again, our foundation is God. Elohim, whatever context or language that you use, that does not matter. And you could say it matters, you know, or you could say it don't matter. But we were talking about how there's more than one planetary body up there. Well, two. There's more than two, right? Blessings to your family. God bless you, Apostle. There's more than two bodies up there. And when I say bodies, because I see the sun and the moon as bodies, right? I see the sun and the moon as bodies. Now, for all intents and purposes, you guys, you have to know that they only teach us just enough to cause us to be blind. Blessings to you, Prophetess Lisa Exum. They teach us enough to blind us. And this is the core and the foundation of their rationale and their logic. The world or the powers that be or whoever's in charge cannot allow us to really see, because unfortunately, then we would be able to see how slow, how manipulative, and how foolish the things are that they teach. Do you know gravity is still a theory? I was doing some research and some study, and at the core of it, it's called the theory of gravity. They don't even know that what it is, that causes us to be held down on this ground. They don't know what it is. That's why gravity is just a theory, right? Listen just for a few minutes. Let me hit this set. Y'all continue to share, tag, and invite. Y'all can watch me hit this set real quick, right? So even gravity, and when they talk about gravity, even that's a theory, you guys. It is, right? It really is. A lot of things that they teach us, or rather that they try to explain to us, most of those things are just theories, right? And when we were children, if anybody remember this, when we were children, right? In the 70s, right? We could spend all day outside. And can anybody attest to this? I mean, in the hot, blazing sun, we could spend all day outside. And the sun didn't bother us at all. I mean, it may have bothered us, but for all intents and purposes, it didn't. It don't seem like. I'm just for the sake of observation. Throw your knowledge away, right? Throw your information away just for now, or put it in the back of your skull. But for all intents and purposes, it don't seem like we have the same sun today that we had back then. And that's just my observation, right? I used to be able to, even growing into my adult life, I used to be able to, to chill out in the sun all day. And it didn't really affect me, right? And my current understanding of it is that this is not the same sun. But that's not even true either, right? Because what's happened, and what I believe to have happened or has happened, that another sunlight has awakened, if that makes any sense. Now, there's a such thing as what we call a black sun, right? And I don't know if you probably going to even understand this, but there is a black sun. Just like that there's a visible sun or visible light that we see with our natural eyes, there is also one up there that exists that we can't see with our natural eyes. And for all intents and purposes, it has entered into our atmosphere. Right? Hey, Jacob, that's a good observation. That's a great observation, right? And in some places where it's very hot, and it literally feels like the breath is being sucked out of you. And Crystal, you probably can attest to that one, right? If you live somewhere that's real close to the equator or close to the sun, you can go outside and feel as if your whole oxygen is being taken from you. It just seems like whatever's up there, you guys, whatever it is that's up there, whether we call it a black sun, a white sun, a yellow sun, whatever's up there now, it seems as if it's sucking two things: the oxygen out of your body and the energy out of your body. Whatever. Now, they may have some kind of science understanding of it, but they but they give us that understanding, right? Just based on whatever they feel, whatever they think, right? But whatever's up there now, you know, and it cannot, you know, just for all intents and purposes, it cannot just be the sun, the same sun that we had when we were growing up. It cannot, for all intents and purposes, be that same sun. But we can also take into account our foundation, which is the Bible, right? And the reason why I was having a conversation yesterday, I'll be all over the place with prophetic, right? With, you know, a young man, you know, Muslim. And they always try to argue and debate, right? Points. And so as far as it relates to wisdom, when fellowshipping with other denominations or other viewpoints, I'm reminded of something that the Spirit of God pulled out of me to say, is that when I can look at history and see most and account for most of the things that are in my Bible, then I can know at least my Bible is true, if that makes any sense to you. If I can see the flood story, listen to me and listen to me good, listen to the Spirit real good. If I can account for the flood story in every religion, right? In every country, right? All over the world, everybody has a flood story, right? Then you can rest assured that just maybe that the flood story in your Bible, it's true. Now, it may not have happened as it happened in our account, right? Because everything back then was word of mouth. And it wasn't Moses, when he was hearing the story, he was exactly writing it down as it relates to how he was hearing it at that moment, right? So you can know without a shadow of a doubt that that story is true. When you have a story in your Bible that all other religions contain within their script or in their manuscripts, you can say without a shadow of a doubt, you know what? Then, you know, I can, even if I don't rely on it from a faith-based perspective, I can still rely on it from a historical perspective. Because, okay, they have a flood story. Okay, they have a story that account in their books or in their religion that talks about a time when gods, literal gods, ruled this nation, right? Literal gods. So when we talk about Zeus, Hermes, Apollyon, and all these different gods, our Bible teaches that it is true. It is real. You can say that whatever you want to say, but if you study all over the world, which is what the spirit of truth is, everybody, when you're religious or when you churchy, you only think from your paradigm. You only think from your perspective. And it's not the God perspective that you're viewing things from. It's not the God perspective because God says that your thoughts are not my thoughts. Your ways are not my ways. As the heaven is higher than the earth, so too my thoughts are higher than your thoughts and my ways higher than your ways. And so let me modernize that just for a moment, right? So, you may have a view of the road, and you may, and that distance, that you have on ground level to view the road may be about 100 feet, right? You may be able to view 100 feet, and you're only able to view it at ground level. So what you see is not wrong, right? What you see is not wrong. Next person may be 20 feet in the air, right? On top of a building. Their vantage point, they're going to be able to see a lot more than what you have the ability to see. And just because our stories are not the same in what we see doesn't mean mine is wrong, and it doesn't mean yours is wrong. Is that making any sense to anybody? And that's why we have the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and different versions and views, because when observing a thing, you don't really observe the thing that you're looking at, that you're viewing. Actually, you filter it through your common knowledge, through your understanding, through your logic, through your rationale. You don't see what you really are looking at. You really don't. You don't. You don't know what it is, right? And that's the foundation of our understanding, of our rationale, of our logic, and as it relates to viewing things, you know, because I can look at a tree and says it's a tree, right? That's a tree. Another person can look at it and say it's an orange tree, and I'm looking at the tree like, man, there ain't no orange tree, right? So that means they're filtering it through their information or their database or their system of their understanding of their logic. I can fight them all day long and say that's not an orange tree. And I'm saying it's not an orange tree. Why? Can anybody answer that? I'm saying it's not an orange tree. Why? Can anybody answer that? Help me out. Can somebody answer that? I'm saying it's not an orange tree. Why? Why am I saying it's not an orange tree? I'm saying it's not an orange tree because I'm looking at the tree, and what I know about orange trees is that I see oranges. That's it. If I don't see oranges on it, I'm not going to call it an orange tree. I'm going to say, look at that tree. Because that's the extent of my knowledge of oranges, orange trees. I can't look at a leaf. I can't look at the bark. I want you to really, really get this as a foundation. I need you to. Because this must become the foundation for you, for being able to look at something and say, man, that's not true. Or that is true. I can't look at the bark. I can't look at the roots. I can't look at the leaves, you know. I can't look at the branches and say for sure that that's an orange tree. I can't. Because all my perception is that I don't see oranges. And if I don't see oranges, I'm not going to call it an orange tree. Even though for all intents and purposes, it is an orange tree. It's an orange tree. You know? And so we're arguing and debating and fighting over information, intellect, understanding, rationale, perceptions. We're not even fighting over reality, because the reality of it is it's an orange tree. It is. You know, no matter what, for all intents and purposes. We're out here arguing and debating over information, or rather the lack thereof. And that's why the perception of this world that we are in, we are very limited in our ability to see in real life. To be able to see in real life, we can't see. Because, once again, remember, they only give us enough information to blind us. Because once you learn what a bird is, right? You'll never, ever be able to actually see that bird again. Now, that statement may not make sense to you now, but as you begin to mature, you'll realize, because for another foundation, it's not the eyes that see, it's the mind. And that's my son's Izmir's, his statement, you know, of truth, his statement of power. It's not the eyes that see that. It's not the eyes that see. It's the mind. And that statement is so really true, because once you learn, once again, you can look up and see this thing flying around. You can hear the sound of this thing, but you can't really see it. You can't really you can't really you can experience it, right? Right? But once I say, hey, that's a bird, right? Then you'll never see that bird again. Why? Because you're only seeing your information about the bird. You're only seeing your thoughts about the bird. You're only seeing, filtering it. You know, you're only seeing it in your mind. And if I don't put something in your mind, you could be looking directly at it and you can't see it. You could be looking directly at it and can't see it. I'm so serious about this. And you got to have these things as your foundation, right? You got to. Let me raise this up a little bit. All right. Hold on, let's see. Let's raise it up just a little bit more. So the last time we were talking about the solar eclipse, right? And we were talking about the pathway that it was taking. Blessings to you, Prophet Eupolian, right? And it's going through, as they tell us on the news, it's going through some cities called Nineveh. And it's real freaky crazy. You know what I'm saying? How much sense does that make? That is going through a bunch of cities called Nineveh. You know what I'm saying? And most of them are in Texas. Somebody can probably research that. And most of them in Texas. And so it's kind of, sort of, is having a bullseye on Texas. What's going on, you know what I'm saying, with Texas for now, this celestial event or this solar event is going to travel through a bunch of cities in Texas or along the pathway or whatever it is. And those cities are called Nineveh. And so we talked about how the backdrop or the back history of Nineveh, God told Jonah, right, to go minister to these people. Jonah decided, no, I'm not going to go do that. I'm going to go in the opposite direction. And we got into a little greater detail on how you can, for all intents and purposes, you think you can run from God, or rather you believe that you can run from God. And from one perspective, from ground level perspective, that's true. But when you get 20 feet in the air and you're able to see a little bit more, you start to fundamentally realize that, dang, it seemed like I'm running from God. But also at the same time, it seemed like I'm running to God. Anybody ever, I want you to think about that for a moment, that statement. I want you to think about that statement for a moment. You ever been in a place where you say, I'm running from God? And on one level, that's true. I'm running from his truths. I'm running from the God perspective altogether. But then when you start to open up your eyes, you start to realize that, dang, it seems like I'm running right towards God. And if God be God, the big God, not the gods in these books, you know, that we try to limit our paradigms and perspectives to. I'm talking about the God of God, the Elohim, not the Elohim, the Elohim, right? Talking about the God over all of the gods. I want you to think about that for a moment. And it almost seemed like that, you know, I'm running away, but then I'm running right towards. Let me get this set in, y'all. Anybody else, you know, it seemed like that way to you? Jacob says yes. What about anybody else on here? So So we talked about why that is on our last live. We legitly talked about why does it seem like I was running away from God and I was hiding from God. But the more that I became conscious and the more I became aware, it also seemed like that I was running right towards God. And so we open that up as to why it seems that way. And it's because that if God is God, there is a plan for every thought that you have. Now imagine what that means to a person who says, I think too much. Or rather, I overly think. God of God has a plan for every thought. I want you to really hear what's being said. God that made you, he or this being, this force, this entity from the God perspective. Now, this is the God perspective. Now, right now, you're in the mind of God, right? Right now, you're in the mind of God. We've stepped out of the local God, right? Because there's local gods. And now we are in the mind of God. And in the mind of God, I want you to when you get some time, I want you to look up the neural network, right? I want you to study the neural network. The neural network is, for all intents and purposes, highways in your head, though. Does that make sense? Highways that are in your head. And just as highways work outside of your head, you drive on your car, and they connect cities, they connect towns, they connect countries, right? That's what the neural network is in your head. And you can sever or cut those connections, or you can also build those connections. So let me give you a modern day understanding, a modern day view. You ever said just to yourself, I can't do that? Well, what you just did, let me tell you what you just did. Like, I'm talking about I'm modernizing scriptures for you. Everything that we say is scriptures, and you can quote me, you can believe me or disbelieve me, right? The moment that you say, I can't. Now remember, life and death is in the power of your tongue. And you think it's an outward projection, an outward perspective. And for all intents and purposes, yes. But that statement, you don't realize, has came from within to begin with. The moment that you say, I can't do it, what you do within your neural network is that you tell the neural network or the highway to stop working for me, to stop working for you, right? And literally what happens is that highway, boom, it just gets cut off. Becoming a millionaire, becoming a billionaire. I'm going to be a great dad. I'm going to be a great mom. I'm going to overcome this sickness. I'm going to overcome this disease. Man, let me tell you something, you guys. I do not care how you feel right now. It is something about when you say, I'm overcoming this sickness. Or rather, you take it to the next level and you turn up the notch and you said, I have overcame this sickness. That's why we have the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is a powerful book. Why? Because it gives us the end of the story from the beginning. We know no matter what. We know no matter what. No matter if I'm alive to see it or if I'm not alive to see it. We know without a shadow of a doubt. We have the end from the beginning. We have it. We are winners. That's why the scriptures declare that we are more than conquerors. And so this is a real proven thing. This is not just something we've read in our scriptures. It's not just something we read in our Bible. Science is coming into these understandings. This understanding is used all over the world. Why? Because it's real. Everybody always talk about New Age. But you know the one thing that New Agers do? New Agers are the byproduct of stolen technology. New Agers have most of our technology. New Agers have most of our understanding, most of our rationale. How we are supposed to be operating, functioning, and flowing, they took it. And the reason why they took it, right, is because they started to come into these truths, and the church told them, some beat, for all intents and purposes, standing up there with a degree or a doctrine or a head full of air, told them, oh, that's not real. Don't delve into that side, right? Don't delve into that side. Don't, in fact, don't be so spiritual that you know earthly good. Don't be so heavenly that somebody up there told you that. And so at that moment, you were like, yeah, maybe they are right. And guess what you did? You cut off your neural network. You just told you to stop working for you. Anytime you say, I can't solve that, or I can't do that, you're literally, legitimately telling your mind, your brain, the thing that is supposed to be working for you, you told it, I don't need you working for me. Do you know that your mind, or your brain rather, or that whole synopsis, it works even when you don't know it's working for you? Let me give an example. Let's say, you know what? I'm gonna find some money today, right? Or let me. Okay, so no, I'm not gonna use that one. Let's just say you say to yourself, you know what? I want a Maserati, right? I want a Maserati. I'm gonna buy me a Maserati, right? And all of a sudden, your neural network makes that connection. Boom. It makes that connection. And so what happens is, now watch this, and you're going to know this is true. What happens is, you're going to get in your car and you're going to start driving. And all of a sudden, if you drive long enough and far enough, you're going to start seeing Maseratis. Does that happen to anybody? Or it may be Cadillacs. Or it may be whatever car, you know, Teslas. And all of a sudden you get in your car and start driving, you start seeing Teslas, and you're like, wow, that's your neural network working. Those cars, for all intents and purposes, may or may not have been there at first. You know, they may have always been there, or they may not have always been there. But now all of a sudden your neural network has made the connection, and now is giving you helping you to remember the connection you made. Let's say it be 11:11, same synopsis. Whether it be 3:33, 12:12, whether it be 4:44, 5:55, you know, all of a sudden your neural network has made the connection to allow your pathways to cause you to see. It works for you if you will allow it to work for you. Let's say you say, I want to learn about, I want to learn how to grow, you know, I want to learn how to plant seeds, or I want to learn how to build a house. Your neural network going to make that pathway. It's going to make that connection. And all of a sudden videos are going to start popping up about houses and about trees and about seeds, and all of a sudden billboards are gonna light up in your pathway, and you don't realize that it's lighting up inside of you. That's why it's lighting up outside of you. Oh, you better catch this. You ever, and I say this with cars because you ever got a new car, right? You was driving an old car and you got a new car. Let's say it's a Cadillac, right? And your Cadillac is a CTS, and you driving along the street, and now all of a sudden you seeing Cadillac CTSs all over the road, and you like, man, I ain't never seen this many Cadillacs, CTSs to be exact. Why? Because it didn't light up at first. Your neural network did not create those pathways for you, right? This is real. What we talking about is real. A lot of people like to get up there and quote scriptures, but they themselves can't even explain it. It don't need to be explained. Oh, blah, 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 blah. There's lots of things. When you operate within the mind of God, it can be explained. It can, and the explanation will be like, it will literally make sense when you have enough information to entertain it. When you have enough information to entertain it, your neural network will create the pathway for you to grow, for you to mature. Blessings to you, Prophetess Daphne. It will. It will. And that's why I say they give us just enough information for us to be blind. They taught us that, hey, that's the sun up there. And so we saw nothing else. That's the moon up there. And for all intents and purposes, you're educated because you know the planets the so-called planets that exist up there. If you can quote all of the planets that exist up there, people will call you intelligent. People will. People will. If you can quote all the books in the Bible, people will call you wise. They will call you intelligent. And so for all intents and purposes, we want to know those things. When they taught us that, hey, there's a moon, when they taught us that, hey, there is a sun, that's all our minds focused on. That's it. I told you they teach us just enough to blind us so that we cannot see all of the other bodies that exist up there. So they teach us just enough to blind us to the second sun that is up there. They blind us just enough so that we don't see all of the other astrological things that exist all around us. And most of the things that this current system, the structure of this system that we live in, right? This Western system, it is the byproduct of keeping you blind. School, let me tell you something. I get it. School is not in the business of creating free thinkers. Our education or our educational process or our indoctrinated process is not in the business of creating free thinkers. Those that will create the next generation of phones. Those who will create the next generation of energy. Those who will create the next generation. How many Elon Musk are there in our generation? And I want you to, or whoever it is that create the iPhone. They are in our education only focuses on creating those individuals who will be consumers of the projects that they will create themselves. That's why anybody who really intelligent, what do schools do with them? I'm talking about really, really intelligent. What do schools do with them? I'm gonna lift some weights and y'all write it on the screen. What do they do with them? When they find an intelligent person in school or in the classroom, what happens to that student? Y'all tell me from observation. Okay. Jacob says they dumb you down. Eupolian says they make them seem crazy. Now, I'm talking about someone who excels in their math, someone who excels in their reading, someone who actually literally excels. Jacob, you own it. They send them to a what? A gifted class, right? Remember, remember that friend, why you ain't in our class no more? Oh, they sent me to this gifted and intelligent class. And their information is way totally different from our information. You ever recognize that? You ever recognize that? Why? Because they've spotted someone, and for all intents and purposes, they spotted that person, right? And they say, okay, now we got to control this person. From the moment that they recognize that you are gifted and intelligent, yes, they give them scholarships. Yes. And it's all about being able to control them. By the time this gifted and intelligent person gets done with whatever it is that they want him to do, right? I'm talking about why? Because they need to control the population. He gon', yeah. So we got to control this individual. So we have to watch this individual. Anytime that there's a gifted, I'm talking about a highly gifted person, they watch them. They'll give them a computer and you don't realize that they listening to them. They'll give them a phone. You don't realize that they listening to them. And for some of them, when they realize that they can't control them, guess what they'll do? Just like the watchman said there, Josie, the prophetess. If they figure out that they can't control you, they'll take you out. Or they'll put you on something, right? That'll take you out. That'll block your neural network. Let me tell y'all something. I told y'all most everything is allowed here. Mostly everything is a lie. They got equipment, they got weapons that they can shoot at you through your computer, through your camera, through your sound. They have sound technology. They do. That'll kill your neural network. And the next time you see that cat or whoever it is that they could not control, and you'll be sitting there like, damn, she used to be super smart. I'm talking about like super intelligent, and you wonder where they went. And the reality of it is that I know this to be true. Because, and the reason why I say I know this to be true is because I was 2 years ahead of my very own class. And I used to skip school. Let me tell you something. Let me say this again. And I used to skip school. But when I got to wherever it is that I got to, I was 2 years ahead of everyone. And they'll teach you, they'll show you different things. I'm talking about, there was one time they used to take me out and put me in this room and make me look at certain cards and certain pictures and put numbers before me and ask me what did I see. And I didn't know that they were equations that they were putting before me. I didn't even know Pythagorean theorem. I didn't know none of these things. You know what I'm saying, that they was putting before me. But it really was. See, this is why I say school, even our school, it only makes consumers. Our school, our educational process, it only makes consumers. Because think about it. Someone who graduates at the top of their class, they go off to do what? They all go off to college. And they go off to college and they don't go do what? They go get a job. I want you to think about this. They don't open up their own business. I mean, and most people who do open up their own business, I mean, they probably don't even have a college degree, right? But I'm digressing. But let's go back to the point. The point is, here's the point. The point is that our schools were created by someone who said, you know what? For our bloodline or for our family to continue to run these nations, run these generations, we're going to have to do what? We're going to have to control what they think. We're going to have to control what they eat. We're going to have to control what they watch on TV. We're going to have to control every facet of their lives. And in order to do that, you have to take them and indoctrinate them as a kid. Why do you think that Christ said, until you can become a what? Till you can become a what? Become a what? Because it's very important that you get it. When you become as one of these, then you can grow. Then you can excel. Come on, put it on the screen. Come on, come on. Come on, men of God. Jacob, when you become as one of these. Carlos, you on now? Come on, answer that question, y'all. That's an easy question. When you become one of these, then you can excel. Y'all got the women. Y'all got the women beating y'all today. Hey, y'all got the women beating y'all today. Hey, come on, y'all. Smitty, come on, y'all. Hey, come on, put that on that screen. He says, it is not until you become a child. And I didn't get that at first. And let me break that down. Thank y'all so much. And let me break that down, why it is important, right? So a child from the ages of 1 to 7 are sponges. They absorb information at a radical rate. They are in this mind set for all intents and purposes, right? Almost like hypnosis, right? From the ages of 1 to 7, right? You got to know this, and it's almost a mindset like hypnosis, right? As a child, and so as a child, whatever you teach them, whatever you instill in them, whatever you put in them, that is what they are going to absorb. That is what they are going to absorb. If you ever watched a child do something, they saw somebody else do it. They heard somebody else say it, right? And I think that mind is called beta, right? Beta. It's almost it's a beta, right? I think it's called beta. I think they're in beta, right? Beta mode, in beta mode, right? And so they absorb everything, right? And that's why. Now watch this. So let me make it practical, right? So if you had a house, right, and you got a pool in your backyard or a jacuzzi, and you sitting down watching TV or whatever, and your baby, right, crawled to the pool area, and your baby was literally about to crawl and jump in the pool, what do you initially do as a parent or as a guardian? What do you initially do? You look out there and you see the baby finna jump in the pool. What's your immediate reaction to that? In the real world, what's your immediate action? Come on, y'all. I'm gonna show you why Christ said you must become like a child. You can't say, Crystal says run to the child. Yep. Eupolian says you yell and you scream, right? Now this is a child about to jump in this pool, right? About to get in this pool. The first thing as an adult, you understand vibration and frequency, i.e. sound. To a child, sound is very, very important. A child can hear sound, and guess what they will do? They will follow that sound. And so your first intent is to scream, yell, and at that moment, you traumatize that child about water. Which as a baby, which is a child, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to instill your fear, because they don't have fear. For all intents and purposes, babies, they do not have fear. So for the first 7 years, you are instilling your fears in that child. I know you may be saying to yourself, nah, this ain't true. That ain't real. That ain't right. It is. from the ages of 1 to 7, you are instilling your fear. You ever seen a mom afraid and running from a dog? And at first, the children, are petting the dog, picking up the dog, but the mama's screaming and yelling, blah, blah. And about a year later, you'll see the kids running and screaming from dogs. Screaming and running from dogs. Anybody ever noticed that? Anybody ever seen that before? So what happened is that over time, you instilled your personal fears into your child, into this sponge. And so what happens is that you are afraid of something and don't even know why you are afraid of it, and you ain't never came into contact with it before. And you trying to figure out, well, why I'm afraid of this? Why I'm afraid of that? Why? Because you are the byproduct of whoever it is, that you sat under from the ages of 1 to 7. And you don't realize, even now, you don't realize a lot of things that you do as an adult. It's still the byproduct of what you learned as a child. Let me say this again. You don't realize now, even the way you worship God, the way you preach, the way you teach, you don't realize it, that everything you know about God, it is the byproduct of who you sat under, whether you realize it or not. You preach just like the person you sat under, and you don't realize it. You teach, you eat, you enjoy life the same way that they do. Or rather, you vicariously live through them. You don't realize that. And that's why the scriptures declare that when I was a child, I acted as a child, I spoke as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became an adult, or when I became a man, what does that mean? That means I am now experiencing what I'm teaching. And so that's why Christ or Yahshua, of the Elohim told us, to in order to sit under me, you must become a child. You must. Every time I say something, you argue with it, you fight. As an adult, you debate it, you argue, you fight, you scream, you huff and puff. Then you have not converted or reverted yourself over to as a child. Anybody grasping that? Anybody getting that? Now, granted, in our modern day, we have perverted that understanding. That's why in certain countries, and I know the Bible says don't call no man, whatever he said, don't call him. But that's why in some countries, they reference their leaders as Papa, or they reference their leaders as Mama. They reference their leaders. Why? Not because that they're worshiping them. There may be some that worship them. But it's because as a mama and a papa, you're supposed to respect mama and papa. Mama and papa is supposed to be superheroes in your house. Because that's a child. In fact, a child will look at a mom and a papa do some things, and it amazes them. It amazes them. And that's how it's supposed to be. But because of our modern day society, our houses are not structured in the structure that God permitted or gave us, our daddy, the All-Father. The All-Father gave us a structure. And we've moved away from that structure, right? We've moved away from that structure because there's too many people out here abusing that structure. And so because, no one likes abuse. right? No one likes abuse. Even money don't like abuse. When you abuse money long enough, money's not going to come to you when you call it. When you abuse something long enough, when you try to call it, it's not going to come to you because no one likes abuse. No one likes abuse. So the scriptures declare to us, as far as a foundation, that you must become a little child. You must. You must. And if you don't become a little child, then you're not going to be able to absorb what it is. And so we said all that to say that's why they created schools. We think it's for the sake of education, but the reality of it is the sake for indoctrination. I want you to think about that. I want you to really, of course, yes, they learn the alphabet. Of course, yes, they learn math. Of course, they learn how to read syllables, but that's all a part of the spells. You don't realize that they're teaching us spells. Y'all don't realize that. School makes spelling right. I want you to think about this for a moment. When you go send your child to go get educated, they make spelling right. You don't even know that you're practicing spells. When you're practicing words, syllables, you're practicing spells. All of us are. And we don't even know it. Why? Because it's in the name of education. Y'all don't get it. We don't get it. Why? Because everything is a lie. Let me get this set, y'all. Everything is a lie. I want you to really, really think. They even call it spelling, right? They even call it spelling, right? Remember that spelling class you took? They even called it spelling. Remember that class you took? Spelling class? Right? Remember that class you took was called spelling class? And we don't even know when we talk to somebody. Oh, let me modernize it. You ever met this person? Individual, whether it be male, female, they opened up their mouth and you hinged upon every word that was spoken out of their mouth. These are those people who has learned how to spell properly. Shish kebab. These are the people that they put over accounts, large accounts, because they recognize, they recognize that they have the ability not to just talk, but to put those words in a way to where it works. Yeah. Rockefeller, y'all. Yeah, that's it. See, GT on it. GT on it. You able to come up, GT, talk about, the background and history of our educational system and why it was really created? The Rockefellers, y'all. I promise you, our education is the byproduct of a family. Who's really controlling the whole world. Even the language that I'm speaking, even right now, you guys, this is not my language. This is not my language. This is their language. And they decided that we want them to speak our language. We want them to think the way that we want them to think. We're going to structure what they eat. Remember they gave us that pyramid, that food pyramid, you guys? Remember? They gave us that food pyramid. Remember that? You know, y'all remember that? Remember they gave us that food pyramid in school? And so for all intents and purposes, this is why when you have a gifted child, listen to me, a truly gifted child, a truly gifted child, and they excel in all that stuff. And then if that child is gifted enough, that child will wake up and realize that I don't need this education. Let me say this again. Here's the backside of what I didn't tell you about a gifted person, a gifted child. They'll wake up in a way to where they'll realize I don't need this education. I don't need that. And this is the reality of it. This is the reality of when you have a truly phenomenal mind in your family. They'll wake up, you trying to push education on them, push this indoctrination on them, but you don't realize that they haven't awakened to realize, I don't need this. Now there may be tidbits here, tidbits there. Oh, okay, boom, 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 boom. Okay, I'll take that, give me that. But for the most part, most of that stuff that they're trying to push on us, we recognize that it's indoctrination off the top. We recognize it's indoctrination. See, when you have a truly gifted person, you guys in this modern day age, y'all got YouTube. And YouTube is phenomenal. You know, like people, you think social media is bad. Social media is not bad. I'm sorry. It makes no sense. That's like saying a gun is bad. Now, a gun don't get up and kill nobody. A gun don't get up and shoot nobody. It doesn't, not on its own, right? Social media has connected us in ways that we could never, ever fathom across the universe, across cities and countries and towns, right? Now, once again, if you are not aware and using it in an awakening format or in an awareness format, right? And learning and growing and developing, you know, just like you could watch a video about grounding. You should watch that video and go right there outside and go ground every day. But we're not doing that. Because you're not using it in an awakened mindset. You're only using it so that you could debate or so that you could have a conversation with somebody. Oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And you ain't done no grounding. You still stuck in your house, in your bedroom, stuck in a camera. That's you. That's not social media. Social media is just social media. It is just what it is. It's neither good nor bad. And I don't get it. Why we do that? Why? And I guess the path of least resistance is always for anything. I'm not going to blame me. I can't blame me. Let me blame social media. Let me find the boogeyman. That's why it's easy for you to believe that the devil's in your house. That's why it's so easy for a person to believe, oh, a witch cast a spell on me. A witch ain't cast no spell on you. I'm sorry. You would know when a witch casts a spell on you. You would know. Nah, a witch ain't cast a spell. Well, I mean, the internal witch, probably you. But it's easy to blame a witch. It's easy to blame a warlock. It's easy to blame somebody else outside of us rather than to look at the man in the mirror. It's easy. Why? Because we live in a society that teaches that. This society teaches, you know, it's her. She did it. He did it. And even the first man, Atum, or Adam, Elohim came, or God came, you know, and rehearsed his message and said, you know, what is this you have done? I mean, as if he didn't already know he did it. But when you know somebody going to do something, it still shocks you when they do it. It doesn't matter that you already know. You already know what's going to happen. And the fact that it happened and you get shocked, but you already knew it was going to happen. Does that make sense to anybody? It wasn't the fact that God didn't. Oh, I didn't know Adam was going to do that. No, he knew. It just when it happens, it just shocks you, right? Man, it's just like you experiencing it all over again. Even the moment that you knew within yourself, who this person was and their ideologies and their concepts and their rationale and their logic, you knew that moment and you experienced that. And then when it actually happens, you experience it again. So it's like you experienced it in the past and in the present and in the future, right? Because you say, I already knew you were going to do that, right? And so he said, Atum says, he says, that woman you gave me, that woman. And coincidentally, when Atum said, it's that woman you gave me, who did he place the blame on at that moment? Come on, prophets, y'all get this. At that moment, who did he place the blame on? When Atum said, that woman you gave me caused me to step out of alignment. Man, boy, y'all sound like y'all know the Bible. Let me find out. Y'all got revelation out here. Man, y'all sound like y'all got straight up revelation. Where the rest of y'all at? Napoleon? Carlos? Where y'all at? At that moment, at that very moment, he didn't put the blame on the woman. It may appear as if he put the blame on the woman, but he really didn't. He put the blame on God. He said, the woman, you gave me this woman. So that means you knew when you gave me this woman, what she was going to have the power and the ability to do. Why you didn't forewarn me, God? I didn't know that this woman would have so much power over me to cause me, to lead me away from the God of gods into declaring myself that God. To declare that God is somehow withholding something from me. The declaration of Hasatan saying to the womb man, what he said is it created an idea within them. And an idea is very important. The idea is that God is withholding something from you. And the very thing that he's withholding from you will enable you to be like him. And for all intents and purposes, if you look at it on a deeper level, what he's withholding from you is because he don't want you to be him. And so, just like that movie about going inside of a person's mind and putting a thought in there so that they can feel as though they created the thought from themselves. That's how that worked. Anybody know the name of that movie I'm talking about? Put it on the screen. Blessings to you. Prophetess Gretel. God bless you all as you're coming in. We fellowshipping, y'all. What's the name of that movie? Anybody know the name of that movie? And this is what Hasatan did with Atum, with our forefathers, Adam and Eve, and our foremother. He put a thought in their mind, and that thought was so ingrained and so deep within them that it birthed out disobedience. That's why it's so fundamentally important that the foundations be so deep within you that now they start operating, functioning, and flowing all on their own. It's got to be that way. And that's why, now watch this, that brings us to the second phase, right? Right? And that's why everybody that belongs to God already will come to a place where they recognize they will come to a place to recognize that it's already in them. Faith, why? Why? Because God has given each and every last one of us a measure of faith. And what Hasatan seeks to do on one level is to make you create your own faith. And what am I saying? What am I saying? Create your own faith. Well, if I pray more, if I fast more, if I do these things more, then it's going to make my faith bigger and stronger and more powerful. But when you read the scriptures don't say that praying makes your faith strong. That worshiping don't makes your faith strong. Scriptures don't teach that. The scriptures don't teach that at all. In fact, the scriptures declare for the trying of my faith produces, or the testing of my faith, or it says things like Christ became obedient, because of the things that he went through. This is why it's so important to remember foundations, right? You got to, because a lot of people, God has allowed them to exercise their faith by putting them in the lion's den, and they forget foundations and start praying, God, get me out of this lion's den. Oh God, come on, change my job, change my address, change my education, change my expense, change, God, change. And that's how you turn God into this sky daddy, and which he's not a sky daddy, because everything you need pertaining to everything is in you. That's what, at least what the scriptures, our foundation teaches us. Everything pertaining to life and godliness is in you. It's already in you. And so Hasatan indoctrinated Adam and Eve and made them think and made them believe in something outside of them, as opposed to the divine spark that they already were. But first he had to come to the vessel that was not the initial vessel, right? That wasn't the initial. Eve wasn't the initial vessel, right? She came out of Atum, right? She didn't come the way that Atum came, right? And so when you are not a direct descendant or the direct byproduct of that which is greater than you, then when it filtered down, it became lesser, if that makes sense. Even though she wasn't lesser, she was equal in value, but she wasn't equal in purpose. She wasn't equal in expression. You can't make man and woman equal in expression, equal in purpose. My purpose is different from your purpose as a male. Your purpose is different. Look at your body. Look at my body. How it operates, how it functions, how it flows. That's why when a man tries to turn to a woman tries to turn into a man, they got to take shots, and so one of them got to take estrogen shots, and the other one got to take whatever it is we got. What we got, men got, whatever the chemical is, right? And so somehow Hasatan convinced them, that, hey, God is making you miss out on something. I want you to think about that. And they thought about it and thought about it until finally Atum bit into it. It was already sold to his wife. Wife already bought into it. That's why she was leading him there every day, to be drawn away. And it caused Atum to create, or rather hand over his authority, hand over his power, because he handed it over to his wife. His purpose, he handed it over to somebody else completely different. And so again, we're not saying all these things to say, hey, take your kids out of school. But if you really think about it, you don't know what they're teaching in your schools. I saw these videos where this teacher was supposed to be teaching geography, right? And instead of the map, normally they have a map hanging up there, right? Of the United States of America. Not just the United States of America, but the whole country, the whole nation, right? And she had and the woman had a gay pride flag covering the map. You know what I'm saying? A gay flag covering the map. Now, how much sense does that make? And they in there teaching, that, you're supposed to be educating our kids with information that's written, within your syllabus, but you're not. You are, but you're adding your own doctrine to it. So for me, a lot of people, you can fight, you can argue, you can debate with these people, but for me, I would take my kids out of this place. If we get back to the right structure on what God created, we wouldn't have to worry about none of these things at all. But the problem is that we're not awakened as we think we are, or as we believe we are. We've awakened to church, and we've become churchy. And how you become churchy is that you still not awakened to see how they are indoctrinating whole households. You think these schools that are not passing these tests, you think that's not on purpose? You think that's not on purpose? That's on purpose. Hiring teachers that don't care, educators that don't really know how to educate. That's on purpose. Paying these teachers little to no money. And so teaching is no longer important to them. Educating is no longer important to them. Now it's just something that they just go and do, And so our educational process is not failing. It's not failing like you think it's failing. In fact, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Let me say this again. Our educational system is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Raising up slaves. And you say to yourself, well, the more educated you are, the more power that you have. Power to do what? Power to go to work and get a good job and live in their house, drive their cars, ride their planes, wear their shoes. When we going to get educated enough to say, you know what? I am going to get a good job. but I'm going to make my own. I'm going to take this money and make my own shoes. Have you ever thought about that? Have anybody ever like, you know what, Dad, Mom? You know, I used to tell my kids, man, the only way to break the system is that you must become the system. And that's what Hasatan did. He became the system. For all intents and purposes, he became the system. You can say, well, God owns everything, all the cattle and the trees. Yeah, he owns all those things. When you eating off your land, guess what? You're eating godly. Anytime we go eating McDonald's, we're not eating godly. We're not. Anytime we're not eating godly. But when we put our hands in that dirt, when we walk in that dirt, when we put no seeds in that ground, for all intents and purposes, that we're literally, legitimately putting our energy into the ground. And so when you grow something, it becomes the byproduct of sunlight, you know, in an edible format. You're putting your energy in a format that it becomes edible. So when we go eat at these other places, you got to ask yourself, whose energy am I eating? Whose DNA am I eating? Whose information that I'm eating? What is this information telling my system, the body, to do? I know this don't sound like no Easter message. That's because it's not an Easter message. It's a message of resurrection. And the only thing that has the power to resurrect you, or to resurrect the things of God in you, the divinity in you, is a word from God. We've been so indoctrinated, even by church, we've been heavily indoctrinated. We have the ability to take a book, and this book tells us that this is the word of God. The book told us. At face value, now don't be mad at me, at face value, the book says it's the word of God. And so we believe what the book say, right? Am I right? Anybody? Am I right? We believe what the book say. The book say it's the word of God. The book say, and my grandma, my grandpa, you know, so fundamentally. So, and if that's the case, the book says that it's the word of God, and you don't really know where it came from and who wrote it and what is the byproduct of. Why can't you believe that? I mean, just as easy as you believe that that book is the word of God, why can't you believe that what's coming out of my mouth right now through me, through your vehicle, or through your antenna, through your cell, why you can't believe that that's the word of God? Why you can't believe that this is the byproduct of a word from God? It's not easy to believe that. It's not easy to believe that this is the word of God. Why? Because it does not follow any of your known structures. It does not follow any of your known structures. See how you've been indoctrinated by the church? The church taught you, gave you enough information so you could be blind. Same system. Same system. Gave you enough information so you could be blind. Anybody getting that? Anybody understanding that? Listen. That's why, and I'm going to keep saying it, I'm going to keep preaching it, and I'm going to keep pushing it. That's why Promised Land, as far as it relates to the vision that God has it set for it, is very vital. It is very important. It's very vital. It's very important. Because what it says is that we have a group of people who are really waking up. You getting a new car, you getting a new house, that's fundamentally okay. But when we start gathering and start growing our own food, we start utilizing the sunlight, and somebody starts to figure out how to make electricity wirelessly. These are the things that will cause people to say, you know what? They're doing it. And when things crash, because we've created systems like this, we won't crash. We can't crash. It is impossible to crash when you create a system where you can't crash. Does that make sense to anybody? That needs to make sense to you, not just because I said it. You need to take that thought and put that thought so deep in you, until you get enough information to feed that thought. And that's why I'm gonna say this, because I need somebody to awaken for you to awaken to your full purpose, your full potential. Not everybody, there's a lot of people, whether they realize it or not. See how I get on here? I post almost every day. Why? Because I know my purpose. I've been awakened, and that's my purpose. And I do it every day. Every day. Now, what if it is your purpose to sow seeds? That's your purpose. A lot of people don't see that as their purpose. And they don't see that their purpose is to finance the things of God. What if you saw it that way? What if you say, I'm not giving money to no man. That don't make sense. My purpose is to fund the kingdom. Now imagine that. Imagine you say, this is my purpose, to be an evangelist. This is my purpose. What if you start looking at things and start realizing and saying, this is my purpose? Wait. This is my purpose. Then for all intents and purposes, you're going to do it each and every day. And no one's going to be able to stop you. No matter where you are at, no matter where you go, you're going to do it. That's why it's important. Because it's only going to get weirder out here. Weird. It's already weird. It's already weird. It's going to get weirder. It really is. And it's going to look like the best time that you can ever be in. But people, when you give them something, the evil come out of them. You give somebody $1 million right now, and they just start doing weird stuff. I mean, we already knew that these gatekeepers out here will start falling. But things are about to change, and they're about to change rapidly. The changing of the guards has already occurred. And we must, like Moses, when they were preparing and doing things, continue to walk in our purpose, because you walking in your purpose is equivalent to holding my hands up so that they don't fall when the people look up to see if I'm still up there. Does that make sense? There are people that are out there that are watching to see if I will fall. But just like the man of God, when he got tired, he had people that were right there making sure he didn't fall. Right there making sure he didn't fall because they understood purpose. We've lost sight of purpose. And it's okay sometimes to lose sight of it. But you cannot lose sight of it for too long. Because then you're going to be sitting back. God, dog, I knew what I was supposed to have been doing. I should have been doing this. And now, in your mind, you're 5 years behind. Now, in your mind, you're 2 years behind, 3 years behind. But just as the man of God had people there holding his hands up so that when the people looked up, he was still just as strong from day 1 to day 1,000. Listen, it's time for you to fully walk in your purpose. It really is. You can no longer stand by idly. The time that we're coming in, you can no longer stand by idly. You're going to have to make a choice. No telling what's going to happen because the skies are not as they appear. They've been indoctrinating us. And now that we're becoming more aware and more, it used to be conspiracy theories. But now it's no longer conspiracy theories. They done killed whole families. They done tore families apart, put people in jail, killed them, made them disappear. And now all of a sudden we have documents that speaks about aliens. For real. Now the government is coming out. For real. So you've been lying to us, killing people, making people disappear, making people think that they're dumb, stupid, retarded. Something's coming. Something's going to happen. And we got to make sure that we are really God's children, God's sons. You remember when the man of God went up on the mountain to get the 10 Commandments? Who was that? When he went to go get the commands or the tablets, he went to go get the tablets of God. And he was gone for a long time. And the mountain of God, he went to the mountain of God. Moses, that's right, Crystal. Moses went to the mountain of God, prophetess Crystal. Moses went to the mountain of God. Up to the mountain of God. And the people below was so used to having gods over their lives. They went to Aaron and said, Aaron, he's taken a long time to come back. We don't know where he at. He should have been back by now. I want you to connect the dots. I need you to connect the dots. He should have been back by now. We don't know where he at. We don't. This is getting frustrating to us. And I imagine each day Aaron being able to console the people. He'll be back soon. Don't worry about it. You need not worry. You need not be frustrated. You need not be doubtful. He's gotten us this far. He'll be back. He didn't bring us this far to desert us. He didn't bring us this far to leave us. And so, for the first few days, they were consoled by that message. And it caused them to remember, yeah, you know what? You're right, man. You're right, man. We out here in this wilderness and we living. We should be dead. For all intents and purposes, we should be dead. The things that we went through, we should be dead. And so, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, now day 7, day 10. Okay, where he at? He ain't back yet. He ain't back yet. Jesus, you ain't back yet. Moses, you ain't back yet. Where you at? we getting a little antsy-pantsy, You ain't answered my prayer yet, You ain't came into my life yet. You ain't done this miracle. Where you at? I don't know where you at. And so, that's how we are. That's how we are. That's what the local church looks like now. The local church just looks exactly like this story. And so finally, they went to him. Listen, we got a proposition for you. We gonna follow you now. We're gonna follow you. We're gonna follow your message, your word. But you got to make us a God. But you got to make us a God. You got to give us something to worship. So Aaron builds this temple, this nice big brick and mortar building. And the thing about it is that Aaron said, give me your gold. Give me your gold. Give me your earrings, all your gold. Give it to me. And it's deep. And immediately, for him to build them something that they can worship and call it God, they had no problems. They had no issue giving up that stuff. They had no problem. They had no issue. When a man of God says, oh, we want to build this big building, it's nice, huge place, this church, so we can bring people in and so we can worship God. And they told Aaron, we're going to follow you. And Aaron challenged that. Got all their gold, their jewelry, their money, everything that was of value. Threw it in the fire. Something came out. This is your God. This is your Elohim. This is your Elohim. This is your Elohim. This is the Elohim that brought you out of Kemet. That's deep. That's deep. They attributed what they were doing as the thing that brought them out of Kemet. Your prayer didn't bring you out of Kemet. Your worship didn't bring you out of Kemet. That building that you go to every Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday didn't bring you out of Kemet. Didn't bring you out of Egypt. Didn't bring you out of sin. That man up there who's on the mountain of God, Yahshua, he did that. And because people, man, I don't have my power now. I don't have my authority now. I can't heal. I can't cast out devils. I can't raise the dead. I can't heal the sick. I can't do none of these things. And so we get all antsy in the pantsy and leave and go find us somebody who can create a God for us and get us excited, tap into our emotions and feelings. We leave. We leave it behind. And then we get over there and sow everything. Well, we need $1 million for this building. I'm talking about people sowing. Sowing out the yin-yang. Working out the yin-yang to make it happen. We need this within a month. And it happens. And that's deep. Because everybody is we in it. Create us a God. And we don't know that's what we're really saying. Building you a stage, building you a platform, a nice one, a good one, a beautiful one. So we can worship you. That's why when Moses came back down from that mountain, the mountain of God, he looked. And it was crazy what was going on. Aaron did truly build them something to worship. But when Moses came down from that mountain, what he built for them to worship wasn't powerful enough to stop their inhibitions. When he came down, they were doing all kind of bad things. And when you look at our modern church, our modern era, they doing some bad things. Some bad things. Bad things, y'all. Moses came down, looked at Aaron. You were gone. You were gone too long, man. You were gone too long. We didn't see nothing. We didn't feel nothing. We just thought we just wanted to do our own thing. Blah 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 blah. We threw them tablets, broke them. The original tablets, broken, gone. And a lot of them died. 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 I wondered, I know, but this is just my mind. This is just my mind. I understand. I know it's not real. What if Yahshua came, man, and he saw what we was doing, and he said, "No, God, they ain't ready yet. They are not ready yet. If I were to come back now, come back now, no one would make it. No one. No one would make it. Because Moses went down there, he looked. Antitype shadows, I believe this. And he broke them tablets, killed a bunch of people, and went back up. Went back up. I want you to eat on this word. Because I can't do this without y'all. I can't. Y'all know it. Like I say again, June, that 100,000, that 100K, come on up with it. You know, you got to come to a place where you say, you know what, this is important. This is important. This is the purpose. This is it. This is it. This is it. That thing is going across Nineveh, going across Texas, hitting all these states, all these cities called Nineveh, and something ain't clicking. It may be something, may not be something, but it's an X marks the spot. Whew. Listen, don't forget, 100K is not nothing if we say this is in service to God. I got my ups, my downs. I got my things God allowed me to do, just like you got your things God allowed you to do. But you can't look at me and say, you know what, I'm not going to serve my purpose because I'm so focused on Isaac. That makes no sense. I'm going to get up out of here. But y'all need to get it done. People are watching. Y'all know they watching. Y'all know they watching, right? Y'all know they watching, right? Y'all know every last one of them are watching, hoping I fall, hoping y'all don't hold me up, hoping. They hoping that. Y'all got to know they are hoping that. They are praying that. You got to know that. Listen, Jesus loves you, men and women of God. So do I.